Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Janiyah. Janiyah, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Janiah. I was homeschooled for high school, and I'm very passionate about homeschooling and self-care. And Jay's giving me the opportunity to be on this podcast.
Aw, yes, let's talk about it. So, how did you begin homeschooling? What brought you to that?
So, I started being homeschooled my second semester of eighth grade. Honestly, I did not want to be homeschooled. I did not, because I've always been very social, and I just wanted to be around my friends, even though public school wasn't exactly the best option for me. Um, and so I started being homeschooled, and then my mom pulled me out. I kind of revolted a little bit, honestly. But as I kind of continued in kind of my journey of just learning about myself more, um, yeah, I grew to realize that homeschooling really is the best option. And it doesn't mean that I can't just not be home. I can't not be social.
Okay.
But yeah, I started with, doing the strict, rigorous scheduling that I learned from public school, and I hated it, so I did nothing. And, then I started realizing what my true interests were, um, in terms of, being creative, because I've always been creative, and just using my creativity to learn the way that I wanted to learn the things that I wanted to. Because,
Okay.
yes.
So, why were you pulled out in second semester of eighth grade?
So honestly, I was pulled out because um there I honestly wasn't doing the best in terms of my grades. So my grades weren't really the best. And then my mom sat in and watched me do a whole day of middle school. And for the most part, I was mostly just focused on talking and being social. She
Even with
watched,
your mom there, even with her
yes,
there. Okay.
she, yeah, she never stopped me. I've always been me, but she full on watched me forget to turn in an assignment in Spanish because I was too busy talking. And I tried to sneak an assignment over to the homework area, and my teacher would not let me turn it in because it's too late. So there was that. um, yeah, and it also didn't help that one of my teachers, was on the iffy side in terms of nothing actually happened with the student, but like he would have let something happen with the student. So it
Hmm.
was just a matter of like protecting me because, he was my favorite teacher at the time. And
Mm.
I was one of his favorite students at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did some of my volunteer hours, because for public school you have to do certain amount of volunteer hours to graduate. Um and I only lasted like a couple minutes before I had to leave because I was just like, this situation is a bit too weird for me.
Really? It was
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yes, this was very uncomfortable.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't
But
expect that.
yeah, but I kind of brushed it to the side because like he listened to me talking and nobody listened to me talking. So I usually would just talk to him when there were other kids in the classroom. But I later learned that apparently I was being groomed. And yeah,
Mm.
that
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's definitely a reason to exit. That is definitely a
Yes.
reason. Okay, so you say when you left, you were like, okay, and I don't want to do this.
Yes, I did not
Because
want to.
your mother's a former teacher,
Yes,
right?
she is.
So, I have talked with her, of course, on the podcast too. Um, and I know she talked about her eras and her beginning of homeschooling. So you recognize that because you said, okay, you've taken me out of public school, but you want to continue to do what public school do. I'm not doing it. Oh, well, you just sat there?
Honestly, honestly, the whole time during the time when I was supposed to like do my schoolwork, I would wake up late. I mean, I slept in, but I would also just sit on my computer and basically read books. And that was honestly all I did all day. I would read books.
That's not a bad thing.
It is a bad thing when you're not actually learning anything from the books. I would
Well, what
just
kind of books
read.
were you reading?
I was reading like the teeny bopper romance novel. So like, summertime romance and things of that nature. It was not being productive whatsoever.
Okay.
I was just reading to read. It was my equivalent to watching Netflix all day, honestly.
I still don't think it's a bad thing. I don't know. I grew up reading a bunch of foolishness all my teenage years. And it did, I think it did me well.
I mean, I learned different words I wouldn't have learned otherwise, maybe.
Right?
But
Vocabulary building. Look at that.
but in terms of reading wasn't just a matter of just kind of me just wanting to do whatever I want to do. It was also a matter of me coping. So that was like my biggest coping mechanism. And not only my biggest coping mechanism, but like my addiction. So rather than, doing drugs, hate to go that extreme, I was
Oh,
reading, I was reading books I shouldn't have been reading.
gotcha.
Yes.
Totally understand. Totally
And so I
understand.
didn't get any sleep. Like I wouldn't, even when I was in public school, I would stay up all night reading. And then during like my third period class, I would say I had a stomach ache to go to the nurse's office. And then I would take a nap for an hour. Yeah.
Oh, so you had
Yeah.
plans, like you had strategies.
I had
Okay.
strategy. Yeah,
Okay.
it was not good. Reading isn't bad. The way I did it wasn't good for me at the time.
Gotcha.
Now I'm still a voracious reader. I'm just not like that.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. You get rest now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And I
Good.
read other things too. I read like more businessy books.
Okay. Adulting. Look at you. All right. So how did you and your mother's like how did y'all find your groove? How did y'all get on the same page?
Honestly, what got us on the same page was when I tried to commit suicide, honestly.
Oh, let's talk
Yes.
about it.
Yeah. Cause like for me, I was just I had always like well, I hadn't always, but like I felt more pushed into a corner. And I just felt so like unwanted and not only unwanted, but like a burden. And so
Mm-hmm.
my like kind of logic was, well, they may be sad for a little bit, but after they kind of get back on their feet a little bit. Honestly, I wasn't even thinking of the grieving process now I think about it. I wasn't even thinking about that because I was just like, their life would be better without me in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my mom, really she did all this work to become a teacher. And I was full on, like I saw it. Like we were so close when I was young. Um, I would go to her classes with her. I would be 7 years old running to her classes with her with a little subway bag in my hand, running all across campus. And so like I saw the work that she put in. And because, she had to, in order to homeschool me, she couldn't go back to her job. And so I just saw all this work that she put in. And then she was like, then she would, say, like, oh, I did this for you. And I would
Mm-hmm.
see it as this for you, but like I thought she would want to go back. So
No.
yeah, yeah. So after one of those, where I got in trouble and I just had one of those. their life would be better without me in it times. And yeah, I attempted to OD on Tylenol. I was almost successful, actually. Actually,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, and I started puking up, and my mom was like, "What's going on?" And I just showed her the Tylenol bottle. She was like, "This girl." So her and my dad took me to the hospital, puked up charcoal, and I had to stay in this like mental institution for like a week.
Hmm.
And it wasn't just any time, by the way. My mom and dad were just about to get married. So literally
Hmm.
the same day that I exited out of the mental institution, I was actually supposed to be there for longer, but they talked with the people. I actually really want to go to the wedding. And so I left the same day that the wedding was on.
Okay.
Yeah. And it had nothing to do with me not wanting them to be married. I loved them together. I was just trying to create a situation with me without it outside of the picture.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you felt that your mother leaving the school system
Mhm.
and coming home to
Mhm.
teach the lovely young lady that she, delivered and pushed out of her vagina, you felt that that was more of a burden than her
Yes.
being in the classroom and you wanted
Yes.
to remove yourself from that.
Yes.
That's pretty heavy.
Yes.
So do you post, how old were you when you did this?
13.
13. Did you do therapy or are you doing therapy?
So honestly, um, so right after, of course we got like 2 days. We had the wedding and then the day after the wedding to kind of just chill. And then right after we did like a couple weeks of this like therapy rigorous training thing of
Mm,
your kid had to go to the institution. Let's rehab them, rehab your relationships. And all the other kids, well, not all the other kids, but like most of the other kids were like, they've been in there before. They were just doing the motion. I actually wanted to get better because I was like,
mm,
I didn't actually want to be like this. So I actively put in the work. They did their therapy together, and we all kind of talked together, and that was kind of how we started realizing certain relationships or our relationship, certain things had changed in a negative way.
mm,
But it also helped us see like some of the things that therapists told us to do were kind of, it just didn't make sense. It just, it didn't make sense in terms of let me think of an example. Oh, one of their things was basically let your kid do whatever. And like in parenting, you don't let your kid do whatever. So yeah, I did the therapy. I really wanted my rock, but we moved like a couple days before I got my little rock that shows that I completed the course, the training, and I put in active effort. Um, but yeah, and then I started seeing another therapist when we moved to Arizona because we were in California at this time. Um, and honestly, I didn't really have a good therapist, honestly. I would
mm.
vent about stuff and she would like try to turn me against my parents in a way. She was just so baffled. Cause
Really?
I would like get in trouble and some of my punishments, I have unusual punishment parents. So like when I was being honestly a whole hot mess, but after another time with my dad catching me read a book that I shouldn't have been reading at like 5 a.m. He threw away all of my books. That
Oh,
was so painful for me at the time. Now I'm
oh, I'm
actually
sure.
yes, I was literally sobbing at 3 a.m. and he made me put them in trash bags and throw them away myself. So it
Mm,
was even more painful. And like, I'm happy he did that now. But then I was pained. And I had told my therapist, she was like, your parents did that? why do your parents do that? It was just weird. And I had to go like to the doctor one time. Um, just do some like blood work or something. And my mom was sitting in on one of my therapy sessions. And it was very stilted, the conversation. And my mom asked me if she wanted to step out. I was like, no, this is how our conversations always are. Let's talk about the weather. How are we doing? And it's funny, this last day that I was with that therapist, I knew I was feeling like totally terrible. Like that was like top tier of the worst I had felt for a while. But I
Mhm.
told her I didn't want to do therapy with her anymore. And she was like, I agree. I think that you're healed. I don't think you
Oh,
need therapy
wow.
anymore. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not with the therapist right now, but I actively do all of the work to make sure that I maintain my emotions. And I'm emotionally regulated and just maintaining my happiness levels really. And honestly, it is prayer. It's prayer. It's prayer in the Bible for me.
Okay. So, how's you and your mother's relationship now?
Honestly, it is amazing. She is my best friend. I am her
Um,
best friend. It works out because, we've just put in so much work together that the moment, after my attempt, we kind of realized that we're both people. Like we weren't just family, we were people. And then when I was 16, we realized even more we're individual people. So we just got to start getting to know each other from that lens rather than you're my mother, I'm your daughter. And
mm,
we realized how cool individuals we are. So
nice. Oh,
yes.
I love that for y'all. So, okay, so this homeschooling journey it started turbulence. Because how old are you now? How old are you?
18.
18.
Yes.
And you're in your last year of homeschooling, or you already finished? You
Oh no,
finished.
I've been in NAU since 2022.
NAU, that's the
North,
university.
yes, Northern Arizona University.
Okay.
I started
Oh,
at
okay.
16.
Oh, how did I miss that? Okay.
Yeah.
Get me current. Okay, so you're in your second year of college.
Yes, basically.
That's pretty awesome. All right, so you finished at 16 after the fight, after hey, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You worked through all of that and started
Yes.
college early. All right, so you said that you grew to understand that homeschooling was for you or the best option for you. In what
Yes.
ways?
Because so just being a creative person, I've always, especially my cultivation, it also helps with my cultivation. Just I've always just been able to like go outside. Sometimes we would walk to the store together, when I was like 4. And I've just always been social. I'm just talking with everybody, um, playing, and honestly, just being a kid, a talkative kid, a social kid.
Mm,
Then being forced to be in a box, i.e., the classroom all day, um, and with like a 30-minute, 15 to 30-minute break for like recess and then lunch. It just wasn't for me. And so I would get distracted like very easily. Like
mm,
very easily. It got to the point where like it was only honestly for like a couple weeks that we were like interesting where we really thought that I had ADHD. Um, but honestly, it was just because I just like to be outside. So as someone who just naturally loves to be outside, sitting in not only in a room for hours on end, but a very dark room, because my classrooms were very dully lit. So yeah, once I actually started learning more about the homeschooling journey, I was able to learn things that I never thought that I'd be able to learn because, I always thought that history was one of my least favorite subjects. I loved the musical Hamilton. It's
Mm.
cool now, like it's not my favorite anymore, but I used to love the musical Hamilton in eighth grade. That was my musical. But I still did not think I liked history. I did not think I liked history. But once I started, realizing I could make my own curriculum, I started learning more about like Black history. And then I became more interested because I learned all of these different Black historical monuments and just Black history in general. And I was able to mix multiple different subjects by doing one thing. So,
Mm.
for example, I read, I think it's this book called Alaudo Equianum. It's this book about this slave who came from Africa and eventually went to Europe. And it was his whole experience. So I used that for both history and for writing as well.
Nice. So you began to take charge and create your own curriculum.
Honestly, it's like I did start taking charge, but in a way of I would just watch my own documentaries, or I would just watch things I want to watch, and we would just find a way to incorporate it in my curriculum. Um, I will say though, one example of me actively like creating something in my own curriculum, in one of our old apartments, there was our next door neighbor. He was really into woodshop. He was really into woodshop. So he would cut he used to make cabinets and then now he would just, make projects. And so I asked him if he'd be willing to do some things with me because in middle school, I was in woodshop for a little bit of time. Um, and he said he was fine with it. My mom said everything was okay. And so I just incorporated that into real world learning, real life learning. And I made a wood shelf. And it was very actually cool. And I got to add that I put that into my math curriculum. Um, I was able to use that for science and learning safety protocols. And it was really cool.
Nice. So when you were in public school, do you feel like your interests were being met?
No. And I would say that because, my interests, I feel like there were a couple things for different kids, but you were put kind of into a box. So if you didn't, obviously you need to do well academically, but the majority of the focus was on, there was the academics, then there was also the arts, but if you didn't have your academics together, you couldn't do the arts.
Mm.
And so even when I did struggle on some things, or I will also say sometimes I wasn't motivated to like move forward if I didn't have something at the end, And if I wasn't interested in the subject, I wasn't motivated to do well in it.
Mhm.
So, being able to do the things that I was interested in also kind of affected my academics in, well, if I can't do what I want to do, then I'm just going to read on my computer.
Gotcha. What you weren't supposed to be doing.
Exactly. It got to
Well,
the point where I would read in class.
yeah, I think I told you how I tried to do that and they wouldn't let me read in class, so I went to sleep. I don't know if I think I shared that with you. I
I
slept
don't, I
all
don't,
of
I
high
don't
school.
recall. You
Oh,
told me
okay.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah, that was the reason because they wouldn't let me read. So I was like, oh well.
No. So, we had computers and I would like read online. I would pull up my computer and read. And my math teacher, I did not like him. He didn't like me, but it worked out because I later learned that he would look at some of my friends' bodies in a weird way.
What in the
So I
world? What school was you at with all these teachers? Goodness gracious.
so I guess I was off his radar because I was bad at the time. So it works out. Um, but I would like read on my computer and my math teacher would close it. And then as soon as he would close it, I would lift it back up and continue reading.
Mm.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Oppositional defiance. Yes, at
Yes,
its
that
finest.
yeah, that is how I reacted to that. And obviously I wouldn't do that now, but then it's like I wasn't interested in not only math but the way that he was teaching math. Because we when I started being homeschooled, one thing that we incorporated was vocabulary.
Oh, I like vocabulary.
Yes, because for ninth and 10th grade, I did more of an online school situation. For
Mm.
11th and 12th, I did just straight homeschool. But yeah, what was it called? I was able to kind of listen to everything and just see things in a manner of I'm interested in this, so I'm actively participating, so I'm able to learn more efficiently
Gotcha.
because sitting in a classroom and learning kind of repetitive things, honestly,
There.
um, very repetitive things in a very dry way. I would get so tired. I really would. So it's like I would be sleepy. So I'm not even listening to what you're saying. I'll just be focused on not falling asleep.
Right. And I gave in every time. I didn't even put up a fight.
No, I remember I was so pained because, I like I said, I'm into theater. And for seventh grade and eighth grade, I was part of, the musicals. But because I had a D in a single person's class, by the way, I made sure to that same day, like the day before, I had made sure that I was at least passing the science class. But when I came back from the weekend, I found out I was kicked out of the musical because I had a D, and it was like 2 weeks before the musical.
Uh,
Yes, they
that's a
never did get
lot.
that. Yeah, they never did get that dog catcher for Annie.
Oh,
I'm saying the English teacher actually had to be the English teacher had to be the dog catcher.
really?
Yes,
Oh man, that's sad.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, because that was a lot of effort put into that, all for that to be taken away.
Yeah,
Like I understand the academics, but yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Honestly, I will say that.
You should put together your own play.
Hey, I had a whole script. That was one thing that was really cool though, because for ninth and 10th grade, because I did my online school situation,
Mm.
one of the assignments, because I did biology, we were talking about genetics. And they gave us a free assignment. So we could basically do whatever we want to do, as long as it demonstrated, showing that we knew about our genetics, our alleles, you know as long as we knew about all of the genetics things, and I chose to write a script. So I wrote a script and I got an A, and I was so happy.
So what you wrote a script explaining like your genetics, or how
So
was
I
the
wrote,
script?
like, when I say a script, I mean like a movie script.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the premise of the movie or play or whatever was a couple came in to have a designer to because they're thinking of having a designer baby.
Oh, okay. I like this
Because
already.
Yes, because because one of because the mother-in-law and the mom was pushing for them to have a designer baby because autism ran in the family.
Hmm.
And the doctor was just real understanding. And gave them kind of the spiel in a very comforting, nice manner. That was the that was the premise of the play.
No, that's pretty awesome that you thought to do like to show your, how knowledgeable you were about the topic through that,
Yes.
through
Well,
a play.
at the time, I also thought that I wanted to be a director. Like honestly, I do love like the movies and the just the world of directing, but like that's not my true passion. So I don't know if one day I'll be making a movie, maybe, but as far as
Indeed.
I go, the closest thing to movie making I'm doing is making YouTube videos. Um,
And that is
um,
fine.
yes, but yes, at the time I really wanted to be a director because when I was younger, I was told I should be an actress. My acting skills are a little, not really up there. Plus, I wasn't actually interested in acting, but I was told I should be an actor. And like, I feel like one thing that public school did was kind of make me a people pleaser in that way too. So
Hmm.
even if I wasn't interested in something, I would still like do it because other
Hmm.
people told me I should be interested in it. Um, and then when I realized acting obviously could not happen, I was like, well, I could do it another way. I'm gonna be a director.
Nice.
Directing was actually fun, but wasn't my passion.
Yes, but it's something to do. A way, a creative expressing outlet. Yes. Okay, so you call this online situation. What was the online situation for ninth and 10th
So
grade?
the online situation. So I did it was like so for ninth grade, it was this charter school.
Mhm.
Um, and they had like an online component. And I started that actually after the second semester of eighth grade. So for the first like month, I just kind of, I just read online, I didn't do any work. And then my mom found the charter school and, was like, okay, you're doing this. I was like, okay. And I had to meet with someone who was in Riverside, California at the time. And she was my advisor, and we kind of talked things through. And she signed me up for a Spanish class, which was Rosetta Stone. And yes, and I was just so happy to
Did
be
it
out.
help? Like the Rosetta? Because I'm thinking about Rosetta. Did it help though?
Honestly, I will say though, I am the type of person, if I don't do something, I will forget it. 100%, I'll forget it.
You don't
I
have
literally have my license
it.
and I had to relearn how to drive because I didn't do it for so long. So,
So you
but
can't speak Spanish.
I
That's
passed
what
up
you're
to
saying.
Spanish 4 and I need
And
to
you took
relearn
nothing
Spanish.
away. You took
I
nothing
need
away.
to relearn
Oh,
Spanish. I do. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going.
But, but at the time, um, I was given a list of things. There was, of course, a due date, and I had to finish it all by then. But I was able to do a whole year of Spanish in the span of like a month, just because I was so on it.
Oh, wow.
Because honestly, Rosetta Stone was fun for me. But
Nice.
I will also say there was so for like the online component, I knocked it out of the park. I did it all. But like if I was having trouble on the workbook component, I would kind of look at it. So, yeah, it was that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's expected.
Yeah. 13 years old. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, so I did, like it at first. And I did an intro to photography course that I got an A in, and it's the first semester was keyboarding. So I became a fast keyboarder. And then the second semester was a get your life together situation. So you had
Okay.
to map out your 10-year plan. You had to really think about the future. And that honestly helped me see things in a different light. Yes. And
What's
then,
that plan looking like?
it's
Okay, wait,
honestly
stay focused. Go ahead, finish with your
okay.
online. Go
Okay.
ahead. We'll
And
come
then for
back to the plan.
okay. And then for 10th grade, it was this thing called EP All-in-One Homeschool. It was this Christian homeschool academy.
Okay.
Yes. And It honestly was like a website someone made, and they had a whole bunch of links to things. And like teachers came together, or I don't even think that teachers well, homeschool teachers, they count. So teachers came together and added, source material, things of that nature. I learned HTML5, honestly, think that. Um,
HT,
ML5.
like the web?
Yes,
Okay.
like the website builder, the
Yeah.
web builder coding. Yeah. Um,
Nice.
I forgot it. Just um,
I'm gonna need you to use some of this stuff, okay?
yes, ma'am. I use the things that are like pertinent to me now.
Of course.
Yes. But yeah, so I did that for 10th grade, and it was cool. I got to create kind of my lesson plans in general. Um, and then for 11th and 12th grade, it was kind of like a year mashed together, really. And I just completed all the coursework that I would need for those years. And I learned what I want to learn. That's where I
Nice.
read the Alada Equianum book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got to have really time to, that was really the year that we focused more on me becoming confident.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, all of my homeschool journey was just me becoming confident. Like when I graduated, they had a little party for me. But even though I had graduated actually a year prior to start NAU, they had signed me up for this Arizona homeschool graduation. So all the
Mm-hmm.
homeschoolers in Arizona came together to graduate on a big stage. And so I did it, quite surprised because they didn't tell me. And then they had a little party for me, and my mom mentioned in her speech that all she wanted was growth, so we can focus on fractions later. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was just me growing and becoming confident because
Nice.
in the past I was too focused on thinking about other people. And I still think about other people,
Yeah.
but I don't think about other people at the expense of myself.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, growth. Yes. Okay, I was gonna ask, so well, you just gave the result of that confidence building, but what did that look like? What
Mm,
I know with my girls, I focus on like whatever we do with our homeschool day, we always start with affirmations. I have them write 10 affirmations.
okay.
And then they have to say them out loud and things like that. So we start there because confidence is really big for me too. I understand the importance of it, the
Yeah.
vitality of it. Like you're not confident, you ain't much of anything for real. So confidence has to be there, present in everything that you do. So what were some of the activities that you did to build your confidence?
Honestly, the some of the things that I did to build my confidence was writing things out in a journal because I didn't realize like just being a creative person, I have like all these thoughts in my head. So like all my thoughts get jumbled together and it does the most, it really does. But when I would write them out, my mind would calm down. It actually used to be to the point like I can sleep easily now. But before, I would literally be up until like 3, 4 a.m. just because of my thoughts.
Mm,
So yeah, writing things out, dispersing my thoughts so that they weren't as jumbled. Um, and honestly, setting up a sort of routine to kind of help me. Um, because usually I would go to sleep, wake up, start school, you know. But now I make it a point to like drink water. Like I always make sure to have my big old jug with me no matter where I go. Um, and start off my day drinking water. Um, and also learning how to talk through things.
mm.
because one thing that separated my relationship with my mother as a young child and me in middle school was we didn't really talk. Like I would talk about I mean, I'm a talker, so I would just talk about things, but they're very surface level.
Yeah.
And so, I would mention a bunch of stupid stuff or just talk about kind of my friends. And I was the mother hen of my group too. So like even if everyone else was like doing crazy stuff, I would give them like the best, wisest advice I could give at 13. And it was pretty good advice. Now I think about it, it was pretty good advice. I somehow managed to convince one of my friends not to meet up with a random guy from Instagram. So
Mm,
yeah.
thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for that.
But I was always focused on other people
Mm,
and talking about and everybody else talking about other people's emotions and taking on other people's emotions too, even though I didn't realize that's what I was doing. And so when we started building our relationship, like once we realized our relationship was there, but it was on a broken foundation, going back to that foundation and building it back up to talk through things that are uncomfortable and
mm,
talk about feelings and emotions. And I'm I'm not going this, talking through emotions and feelings are definitely important, but I feel like that is one thing kind of in the melanated household too,
mm,
that's not really like honestly my cultivation, I was built up to do that. But like the older I got, the more I got the memo that we weren't actually supposed to talk about our feelings.
mm. That is the narrative that a lot of households go with.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like breaking down those narratives and actually talking about this is how I made you, or this is how you made me feel, or even, admitting when we made mistakes, because
Yes.
that is something that doesn't really happen. So, talking through things and yeah, just realizing when we made mistakes, I made mistakes, she made mistakes, and coming together and how can we fix those mistakes?
Yes. 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 I love that. That is really, really growth. Understand.
Yes.
That is a lot of things that, people well over 40 and 50 are still trying to accomplish, especially with you saying you working out your thoughts and writing them down, making sure that you're able to sleep. Because I liked in your introduction, you put in there that you are big on self-care.
Yes.
So I was definitely going to work my way to the self-care. What does that look like? And you have already given some of the things. What else? Because you
Okay,
are an
so
artist. I've seen you draw. I know you're a creator. So what are some other things you do for self-care?
so my self-care honestly looks like, especially with siblings, honestly, because having very small children as siblings, 1 and 3 years old as siblings, you have to push your things up high. I got a brand new thing of lip gloss, and it's now
Oh,
half gone, not because of me. Used it like twice. Um, yeah, you know. But my self-care, honestly, it just looks like putting my things up high so that I don't have to, like, my things are just things, and my relationships with my sisters are more important than the things. But like, it's still not okay for them to break the things.
indeed.
So just actively knowing where they're at and like learning to put them up high. I'm honestly still in the process of it. I will say that. But putting things up high, having a full like face routine, um,
Mhm.
making sure to
Skincare.
yes, skincare, washing my face, and making sure that I'm just moisturized in general. Honestly, I don't really eat that much in the morning, but I do make sure that I drink water when I first wake up because water is very important.
Indeed.
Um, and yeah, so every so often taking a bubble bath. you know, just having some me time, having relaxation time, even if it's a certain amount of time to just kind of do what I want to do. So making sure to set a time for that so that I don't end up just sitting and scrolling
Yeah.
and actually creating a schedule to do business, you know, there's that. Because honestly, one thing I learned is me and sitting and kind of doing a lot of nothing doesn't add up.
Mm.
So one thing I heard was depression is just unutilized potential.
Mm.
And yeah, it's like that definitely was 100% true for me. I had all of these talents and just being learning and loving to be able to do certain things, but like I was never actually able to do them.
Mm.
And so I would just sit in my corner and read. um, so yes, and it's honestly definitely creating, like writing, and sometimes, you know, when I just want to get away, just drink some water and I'll just start writing because, you know, I've been writing a book for the last couple years. Honestly, I've been writing a book for 10 years. I remember in like, I'm serious, in middle, or actually, I think I was like 12 or 13 when this happened, but I had started writing this book since I was like 8, and it was almost done. I was literally in the process of editing it, and the whole thing just deleted from all of my Google Drives. I had to save to like 3. I was so sad. I
What in
was
the
so sad.
world?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
what
crazy.
kind of book?
The premise, the girl was half human, half storybook character, and she was adopted because her mom had like died, and her dad was apparently an evil guy, but she doesn't know that until, you know, she meets him. Yeah, and she's the daughter of Red Riding Hood, and it was actually really good, honestly. It gave like teeny bopper, obviously, but it wasn't too
No, that's
bad.
awesome. And for you to have created that at 7 or 8, like, oh my goodness, that's awesome.
And then I think actually it was ninth grade. It was ninth grade because I started writing it like 8th grade, but ninth grade I started utilizing the help of one of my online classmates. It was this book that I wrote. Honestly, it was so cringy and so like cheesy, but the premise was this girl had braces, and when she's like a month out from taking off her braces completely, her the zombie apocalypse happens. So it's basically her journey to find an orthodontist. Yes, it's her journey to find an orthodontist in the zombie
I
apocalypse
love that.
with a group of friends, you know, just to find out that her love interest just so happens to be an old apprentice of an orthodontist. Would you look at that? Yeah. So, you know, I love writing. I
I
love
love
writing. Like,
that. I
yes,
love that.
writing fiction is so fun.
Yes, yes, it
I
is.
was an active participant episode as a kid. And not just, have you heard of the app episode?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, yeah. It's this app where you can it's basically like a visual novel type situation where don't look at it actually. Don't go on there. I'm just
Don't
literally
go on there. Oh
don't
my
go on there.
gosh. I've already written it down. I'm there.
Don't
I'm there
do it.
already. I'm there already.
No, the coins are crazy. Like, especially if you get hooked, you may actually pay money. So no.
Okay.
But you know, but I was there for OG episode. Now it's just stories, and you know, you make choices. It's always been that way, but now you have to pay diamonds to make like the good choices. I saw this thing. This one girl had to wear sweats to her wedding because she refused to pay 50 diamonds. Yeah,
What?
the choices are insane. But OG episode, you can create your own stories. you could create your own stories. And I was making so many stories. I actually had a good following when I still had the episode. I don't have it anymore. But yeah, I
Why did
had
you discontinue the app episode?
just like it can be used for good, it can also be used for evil. So,
Mm,
I just had to separate myself from the episode. And honestly, I'm happy because that app was kind of stressing me out sometimes too, especially when
gotcha.
I would play other people's games. The choices were insanity. I couldn't choose good choices because there weren't good choices sometimes. So, yes, but I made a whole episode book about a girl who didn't know she was royalty, but her dad's the king. And so her
Mm,
mom died, and so now she has to go live with the king and her other family that she doesn't know about.
nice.
It was legit. I had a whole episode. I had a whole episode account. I had a whole episode books. Yes.
Okay, I want to check it out. I just want to check out the platform itself and see what it is. That sounds interesting. I know my students have put me on to something like where you can basically write and create a following.
Wattpad?
Say it again.
Wattpad?
It may have been. It may have been. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, this was a few years ago. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, there is a place for good and a place for evil. You can find good things on there. It's just very far and few between now. I think that though, because now Wattpad has just become that app.
Really?
Yes. I
Okay.
haven't been on it in a while, I will say, but like the last time I went on there, it had shifted from its original purpose of just people,
Mm.
wanting to write, getting comments. Actually, whole movies have been made because people have written on Wattpad. So, have you
Yeah.
heard of the movie?
Didn't
Have you heard of the movie The Kissing Booth?
That's what I was gonna say.
The
Yes,
whole
because
series, it was originally on Wattpad, and there was
that is
also there
yes,
have
we
been a
have
lot of like Netflix people will go on Wattpad and actually read the books, and people will like publishers will publish novels because of Wattpad. There was a Hulu show called Light as a Feather. I didn't actually read it or watch it, but it originally came from Wattpad, and it was like a super popular show.
yeah, no, that's the kissing booth is the reason why we even got on that conversation because that book, I had that book in the classroom and then they started telling me about that and all that good stuff. But yeah,
It's just but yeah, honestly, self-care for me, it's just having creative outlets. And
nice.
sometimes even my creative outlet is making business plans or um forming out my life plan. Not my actual life plan, but what I want my life to look
Yeah,
like.
guidelines.
Yes, guidelines.
Mhm.
And
I love
utilizing my creativity and my imagination.
yes,
That's
and it
my
sounds like you
biggest
do
form of
it very
self-care.
well. Yes. I
Utilize,
love that.
yes.
And
Utilizing my imagination. Oh,
for the parents that, because we have a lot of homeschool parents that
mhm.
fear their child not being able to go to college.
Um,
And you not only went, you're there early, 2 years
yes.
early. How is that getting into college?
So honestly, when I tell you, it was like the easiest thing. It also depends on what school you go to. But I will say one thing that I noticed is that some colleges or some of just the people like homeschool kids better because there have been more cases of, homeschool kids being more mature than public school kids. So them just having the maturity to even hold conversations or just have that emotion or not emotional intelligence, but have that social intelligence to not just talk and collaborate with your own peers in terms of your age group, but also older.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm in a personalized learning program. So I'm able to do however much I want and however long I want to do it. And I created my transcripts when I found out, that I was going to NAU, because honestly, my dad surprised me with it because, he knew my life goals,
Mm.
and he kind of gave me a framework in that sense. Like my parents are very involved because they, want what's best for me. And I loved his plan. So I was like, okay. And my mom, made, or she was going to make my transcripts, because I didn't have official transcripts yet. Um, they're more of writing down the classes, what grade I got. And for me, it took her too long. So after a couple days, I just made the transcripts myself, emailed them to my dad. He emailed them to my advisor, and I just started going to school. But I will also say that while college is it can definitely be important, it's it just depends on the child. Because some kids honestly aren't meant for college,
Indeed.
especially because like the amount of money you spend, especially if they don't know what they want to do, it's kind of just pausing the inevitable
Mm.
of having to stop and say, wait, what do I want to do?
Right.
Midlife crisis. So, so, some people honestly um are just meant to be creative in different ways. I saw there was this one person I followed on LinkedIn. He quit college and now he has a very popular following. There was a footballer. I forgot his name. I'm not really, with the athletes like that. But I remember there was a football person who I think he went to college, okay. And he started while he was like in the junior college area in terms of football. He was he started filming like TikToks and YouTube reels of him just kicking the ball. And he got an amazing following. And he was told that he either had to drop out or or quit YouTube. So he dropped
Oh.
out
Oh, wow. Okay.
because he said he's making a bunch of money. A YouTuber that I was really obsessed with in middle school, this guy named Odd Ones Out. Um, yeah, he started in college to go as like a math teacher, something like that. And then he became a YouTuber. And now he is extremely popular. In seventh grade, I went to his first book signing.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So it just matters what honestly who the kid is, what the kid wants. If the kid is like meant to go to college and did their goals that like college aligns with their goals, college is necessary for what they want to do in life. College is an amazing resource, but it's a tool. It can be used for bad or good. You can go rack up a bunch of loans and a bunch of debt. And if you don't know what you want to do, then it's kind of for not.
So how is your experience so far?
Honestly, my experience is honestly pretty good because, because I'm in a personalized learning program. So I'm not really meant to sit in a classroom, you know? And I know if I was there, I would be more focused. Well, I may be better. I will say I would be better than me in middle school, but I would still be more focused on trying to save all of my dorm mates. And I would be the mother him of the dorm. I've accepted it. And I would want to talk more than I would want to listen to the professor. Would I want to talk to the professor? Maybe. I would be the person to be like talking, get up with the professor, but I wouldn't actually be talking about what we're supposed to be talking about. I'll take up the
Yes.
class's time talking. So this personalized learning for me, this is honestly the best option. I'm able to do my schoolwork online. I'm able to listen to music. I'm able to set up my schedule kind of how I want to do it to finish when I want to. Um, and just being able to create a plan and as well as be close to my family because that's very important to me, being close to my family.
Nice, nice, nice. And because I know early on you mentioned how, and you have mentioned throughout how social you are. What do you do to make sure reach your social quota?
So honestly, I will say I do message my friends every so often. I'll call my friends. Every so often I'll meet up with them. But honestly, the biggest way I reach my social quota is I'll talk to my mom and dad and I will volunteer a lot. I volunteer actually a lot. Because my future profession, what I'm working to become, is a lactation consultant. So I will volunteer with Arizona Birth Workers of Color. For actually this past Sunday, we went and to the Black Breastfeeding Week event that they hosted, and I was one of the volunteers. So I was able to talk with like-minded people and learn more about lactation and reach my social quota.
Nice, nice, nice. And so you are going to the lactation consulting. So what are you studying in college to prepare you for that?
So I'm studying business and management with an emphasis in healthcare and minor in liberal arts. And for my to be a lactation consultant, honestly, it's less steps than what I'm doing because I'm working to become an international board certified lactation consultant or an IBCLC. And the college courses that are involved, I've completed all that I can in terms of my actual coursework for college. That relates to the IBCLC. So now I have to take more classes on top of my course load, science one specifically. So yes, but I was able to complete all of the ones that are in my degree program.
Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, sounds like you come to, I don't know, like, because we had a very turbulent start. Very, but it's like you found a peace, like you found your purpose.
Yes, it's like when you find your purpose, like obviously I'm still figuring things out.
Of
I'm
course.
18, I'll be 19 in October. But,
You
just
understand that you have a purpose.
yes, and that's honestly one thing that's different from me then versus me now because I thought that there was no reason why I was on this earth, you know.
Mm.
And that's honestly one thing that I did notice with the whole just seeing adults go through their midlife crisis is them just learning that they have a purpose and they're not actually fulfilling that purpose.
I've reworded that. They're not crises. I feel like they're midlife awakenings.
Midlife with, you know what? That's definitely better. Okay, finger snaps.
All right.
But yeah, it's just realizing their purpose at a later date and
Yeah.
realizing that they're not walking in their purpose because everybody's been put on this earth for a certain reason.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
and some people are able to do things, some people aren't. Like talking to people and talking to strangers and talking with people the majority of my days, that I
Is
can do that very
that's your
easily.
thing?
Yes, go out, experience new things, experience new people. But my dad, he can talk. And, if he vibes with you, if he's cool with you, he's cool with you. But like
Not on
wanting
the
to
regular.
talk to everybody, no, I am that person. who will go to a, cafe with my family, or we'll go to the hotel and talk to the person at the front for literal hours.
Mm.
Yes, I will talk for, okay, maybe not hours, but like a full hour. I will talk to that person for a full hour.
You have a lot to share.
Honestly, I'm usually more curious about other people. So I'll usually ask a lot of questions.
Mm.
And like, so I will talk somewhat about myself as it pertains to what's going on. But, you know, I don't really talk a lot about myself unless I click really well with someone. I
Gotcha.
usually I usually just like learning about people more so. So
Gotcha.
yes.
And that's good. You're seeing people, and you're probably seeing people who don't get seen on a regular. So,
Honestly, that is one thing that I feel like my attempt definitely changed for me and just how I perceive people. Because I've always loved talking to people. I have always my mom tells the story of when I was 4. She was in her own little bubble, her own little shell. But me being 4, I asked about this guy's bike, and he told me all about the bike stuff, and I was super interested. Yeah, I've just always been the person to like talk to people and learn new things about them. But I feel like after my attempt, I became more aware.
mm,
So I've never been the type to be dishonest about like a compliment, but I will give someone a compliment. And like if I feel like they especially need a compliment that day, then I will compliment them about something that I really did like.
nice.
And it's like sometimes I'll just see their them look surprised and their eyes brighten up because they weren't expecting
Mm,
that. I used to get
mm.
actually on my dad's nerves because I would just randomly walk up to a lady and be like, I really like your shoes.
That's Kennedy. That's my oldest. She does that all day, every day.
Yeah.
She does. I often wonder if she means it because it might be the most random thing, but like she likes giving compliments. She'll tell you that she likes giving compliments. She likes
Yeah.
people smiling. She does. So
Yeah.
that's a beautiful gift that y'all have.
Yeah, it's just like one sentence can change a person's life. That's what I
Nice.
learned.
That's
And
nice.
another thing I learned, with my whole depression and everything was, sometimes the people closest to the person that's going through, sometimes they aren't really able to, okay, let me see how to word this actually.
Mhm.
Unless the person who's going through depression wants to change or wants to feel happy, really, they aren't going to be able to take the steps and move forward to get out of that depression. And it's like, no matter what my mom and my dad wanted to do, no matter how much they wanted me to stop being sad or whatever, they couldn't do anything until I actively said, you know what, I am tired of feeling this way. And it's like, I never wanted to feel that way in the first place, but until I actively wanted to climb out of this dark hole that I had put myself in.
How did you get to that?
Um, I would say prayer, but I would say one way I got to wanting to climb out of that hole was seeing what life had to offer
Mhm.
and seeing, that my parents were actively trying and that whatever was hurting me, it wasn't all that existed. Because
Mm.
one thing about depression, makes you it makes you have like this kaleidoscope, if you will. And you can only see out of that one thing. And not only can you see out of that one little thing, it's skewed to a
Yes.
bunch of different random weird things. And even if it doesn't the message actually wasn't that whatsoever, I would automatically put it into myself as, oh, I'm just going to use whatever this is to make it so that I'm a burden, even though that wasn't the case whatsoever.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it
because
is,
you're a real light. You are a light.
thank you.
You know that, right?
Yes, I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have talked past our hour, love, but I'm
Yes.
very intrigued with your story, and I know our listeners are too, because depression is a big thing right now for your generation as a whole. So I know this conversation is going to help parents to, I guess, be more vigilant, really. Because I stress all the time the need to talk to your kids. Like we have to talk to y'all. We have to see y'all. Like y'all are, y'all are like you. I love that you. I think one of like my favorite parts was you and your mother realizing that y'all are both people
Yeah.
beyond mother and daughter. That relationship dynamic. You're actually an individual that you know, their own life. Like, we get caught up in our titles and our roles that we're supposed to play. So kind of we get lost sometimes. And I feel where you're at, it's just you so far ahead of the game already. I said, the level of awareness that you have with yourself already at 18 is something I talk to 50 and 60-year-olds about that may never reach that level, honestly. So kudos to you for loving yourself.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. But I'm sure a lot of this has reigned high, and I know listeners will appreciate your perspective and your transparency. So thank you for that.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Of course. But before I let you go, I need you to give parents 3 tips. Um, this could be in relation to anything. Let's say would build a relationship with their children,
Okay.
their young people, teens in particular, because that was a tough time for you. So let's talk about that time. So three things you want parents to take away from this.
I would say three things that I would suggest for parents just in building a relationship with their teen um, would be, well, one for sure, talk to your child, even if they don't like it. Even if sometimes they feel like you may be encroaching upon them or just forcing yourself upon them. Sometimes you just need to talk to your child and collaborate with them. And I would also say not only just talk to your child, but also ask them about how certain things made them feel. And sometimes it's things that, the parent says, you said, or sometimes it's something beyond your control. But sometimes I feel like parents don't realize how they affect us children. Um, and it's like so many things affect and skew and move our worldviews. So it's definitely not getting mad when they say something that you don't like, but actively just listening. Like it's okay to just listen. Um, and I would say another tip would be to definitely, I mean, it ties into the talk to your children, but just like, you tell them or they tell you about their feelings. Sometimes you telling them about your feelings and not only your feelings, but your mistakes. Because as parents, I feel like parents sometimes do need to acknowledge their mistakes. That was what honestly changed our relationship, my mom and mine. And even my dad's, because, you know, when they realized that they made mistakes and when they came to me and apologized for making those mistakes, it changed my whole worldview. So, yes.
Was that 3? I felt like that was just 2.
Okay, let me see. And I would also say, show your kids new things. And it doesn't even have to be like super expensive or, you know, taking them out of the country, though that's cool. It would also be just taking their phone, even if they don't want to take it away, give it a couple hours, they'll be fine before they enjoy the trip. But even if it's just going to the park or driving up and going on a hike or just, I don't know, paintballing. Or it also comes with, finding out what your children's interests are because it's like some things some kids may enjoy, some things others won't, but just look at their interests, look at the things they're interested in, and find activities based on what they're interested in, and do that together. Bond with it that way, if you will, and
Nice.
take their phone because you know they won't know what they're experiencing. They have the phone.
Exactly. And look, one last question. One last question. Would you homeschool your kids?
100%. I actually had a whole conversation with my friend last night about this. I 100% am going to homeschool my kids because
Mm,
for me, it's just, I want to be able to, there's nothing wrong with delegating certain things. Like, I don't know how to do ballet or something like that. So if they want to do ballet, then I'm gonna have to get some help. But delegating the majority of like my parenting over to a teacher, it's just I want to be able to cultivate my kids a certain way. I want them to grow confident, and be the people that they were meant to be. And sometimes it's like that flame that they are is diminished by school because like peer pressure was so real for me. It was very real.
mm,
Yeah. Um, yeah. I've told my mom, and I've actually told other people this too, that if I had stayed in public school, I was like trying to get out of that hole I had created for myself in public school. But there is a possibility that I would have actually very high possibility that I would have actually started smoking something.
mm,
And I may have actually ended up pregnant. I really don't know. It could go either way.
mm,
Yes. Yes, that's how the peer pressure I
mm.
was.
Yeah, that's heavy, girl.
Yes. So,
Hey.
yes. So, yes, I 100% will be homeschooling my kids, and I want them to be able to travel and to do things that, I wasn't able to experience during that age, at a young age. And yeah, I want the best option for my kids.
Nice. Okay. I'm done. But no, that was amazing. And I do appreciate everything that you have shared. Lovely, lovely listeners, parents. Take heed and see the little person that you have in front of you. Understand that these are little people with big spirits. Talk to them, acknowledge them, see them, and just keep going forward in all that you do. Trust the process. 'Cause, I feel like if you listen to this and you understand that y'all are bigger than any obstacle that may be standing in your way to reach the happiness that everyone is deserving of. So
Yes.
yes, please, please, please homeschool your kids.